with American values, and that is to liberate the people of Iran from the tyranny that they have lived under too long. We can do it. I'm struck by the conversation and by the appreciation of the role that women are playing in this current moment of uprising. Now, this doesn't surprise me because I was blessed with a very strong mother, and as many of you know, because you met my wife, Hadassah, I have a strong wife. I used to say when I was in the Senate that while I might be the senator, I understood in our family that Hadassah was the commander-in-chief. And I'm sure all the men know what I'm talking about, and the women as well. Incidentally, it strikes me that that there was a role model for this uprising in Iran today, led by women. And it was a unique uprising over a unique model over the years, and that was the leadership of Mrs. Maryam Rajavi, a woman, a towering figure of principle and effectiveness, who I think was a role model. Oh, I think I got so excited I knocked off my microphone. To share, thanks, Paula, share in the hope of the coming of spring and the beginning of the new year. And I want to go back with you to last Nowruz when we were here in this room together, and we spoke of that same hope. And I must say, looking back at this year, the dreams we had really have been advanced, particularly in the uprising that occurred after the murder of Mahsa Amini. But more than that is happening. The brutal, predictably brutal reaction of the Iranian regime to this uprising has finally made it impossible for other countries of the world to wink or close their eyes at the tyrannical, terrorist nature of the regime. And they've pulled back from supporting it in so many different ways and come out in opposition to the regime. Inside the country, the economy is in a free fall as a result of sanctions imposed as a result of the illegal and brutal behavior of the government of Iran. Food prices are high, and unfortunately the people of the country are suffering, but that increases their motivation to bring about a change. And I agree with what's been said by those who have preceded me, that I feel as we gather here today on this Nowruz, that we are closer than ever since the revolution that brought this extremist government to power in 1979 to seeing its end. And now the question really is, what can we do to make sure that the uprising of the brave people of Iran ends with the overthrow of this regime? Or to use a famous quote from history, what can we do here in Washington to make sure that the regime in Tehran is not allowed to snatch victory from the jaws of defeat, which are closing on them now? I would say first, as we think about what we should do today and tomorrow, we have to look back at yesterday, and we have to appreciate the events and the courage that brought us to this moment when freedom for the people of Iran is in reach. The immediate cause of this broadest ever uprising against the government was, as we have said, the murder of Mahsa Amini. But really, the fight for freedom in Iran goes much further back than that, decades, in the courageous effort of so many people inside Iran with the support of the Iranian diaspora, both in the time of the Shah, protesting that authoritarian and brutally repressive regime, and of course in the time of the mullahs that since '79 have controlled this great country. And there is no organization, no movement that has done more courageously and with principle over that period of time than the MEK NCRI led by Mrs. Mariam Rajavi. This is a movement that has had the courage to take on absolute power and not be afraid of it. And it's more than that. It's a movement that is based on a vision for the future. A secular, democratic, non-nuclear republic of Iran. If you read Mrs. Rajavi's 10-point plan, you think in part you're reading the Bill of Rights from the American Constitution. And I think it's important as we go forward to look back and say thank you to the MEK NCRI. Thank you for all your heroism, your persistence, your stamina, your resolve, and for the work that you have done to have a plan that gives us and the people of Iran the confidence that when the day comes, hopefully before next Nowruz, when this government falls, that there will not be chaos. There will be a smooth and inclusive transition to the next chapter of Iranian history, which will be free. I will say, as the regime weakens and its demise seems closer, history tells us that something else is likely to happen, which is unfortunate, which is that different segments of the opposition to the regime will begin to criticize each other. And I notice that some of that criticism is directed toward the NCRI MEK. That is wrong. That is unfortunate. That is divisive and weakening. And as all of us here today and my colleagues at this table 3, we're here to stand with you today, as we have for years, in support of the NCRI because of all its members have done inside Iran and throughout the world in the global diaspora. Take this very gathering. Who's sponsoring it? It's not a foreign organization. It is the organization of Iranian American communities, patriotic Americans of Iranian descent who want their brothers and sisters in Iran to enjoy the same freedom there that they and we do here. I am proud to stand with you today, and I will stand with you until we stand together in a free Tehran, and may it come soon. I want to assure all of you from the Iranian American communities that what you do has an effect. It has an effect on members of Congress. The most recent evidence is House Resolution number 100, expressing support for the Iranian people's desire for freedom. Quite remarkably, and this is a kind of tribute to the NCRI, once this resolution was introduced, supporting not only freedom but Mrs. Rajavi's 10-point plan, and began to gain support, Raisi from Tehran and his foreign minister attacked members of Congress for supporting this resolution. Why do they do that? Because they fear the NCRI, MEK, more than any other opposition group. And what was the response of members of Congress approached by members of the Iranian American communities and others who support your cause? Well, in less than 2 months, that resolution now has bipartisan support from a majority of the members of the House of Representatives. And that ain't easy these days in Washington. Now, I think we've also seen in the last year, since last Nowruz, a kind of a clarity that the fight for freedom in Iran is part of a larger battle that the U.S. is involved in against forces that resent our system of government and our power and respect in the world. Today, beginning yesterday, in the Gulf of Oman, Russia, China, and Iran are conducting joint naval exercises. This relationship between Russia and Iran is nothing new. The Russians and Iranians have supported the brutal government of Assad in Syria that has resulted in the murder of more than 500,000 Syrians and the displacement of millions more. The Russians have been supporting Iran with weapons, and now the Iranians are supporting, as John said earlier, the Russians. So let us not deceive ourselves. This is a new axis of evil. Iran, Russia, and China. And when freedom returns to Tehran and Iran, it will be a body blow to these enemies of the United States of America. Let me be more specific. I see Senator Boozman here, and if anybody knows the schedule of senators, it's me. I just want to tell you, thanks, Senator Boozman.